Well, basically, first off, I want to thank everyone that showed up to support me today, and certainly my wife and kids, first and foremost. It's not always easy being the family members of a politician, especially in the last little while, but they've stuck by me, and it's just great to have that kind of family support, because you wouldn't be able to do a job like this without it. But certainly, what I wanted to do today was just touch on a few of the key points that I think as a community over the next 3 years we're going to have to move forward with and try to be proactive around. And I'm really viewing the next month as trying to really set the table for a positive 3 years in the community as well as around the council table. I think we've seen a lot of division that's not really, in my mind, been necessary over the last 3 years around the table, and I think a fresh start is what's needed, and I'm looking forward to working with the new council if I'm successful becoming mayor again. Certainly, a couple of my bigger priorities will be working with IHA and the Ministry of Health around security funding and seeing the starting of their RH site master plan. There's several reasons for this. Obviously, expanded healthcare and stronger healthcare in the community, I think, is very important for everybody. But certainly, from an economic side of the equation as well, it's a very healthcare is a very big job creator, and the population ages, it's only going to become more so, both within the direct jobs with healthcare, but also when you look at attracting people to move here and retire here, their healthcare concerns are going to be first and foremost, and that type of critical care will be very necessary. Also, the time has come. I was very proud to be the councillor on the Arts Commission when the Cultural Strategic Plan was developed several years ago, and the time has definitely come within that plan to try to move forward and advance the Performing Arts Centre in a serious fashion. Once again, I think we need to create a community group to spearhead, much like we saw with the Tournament Capital project, where it needs to be community based in terms of the support and bringing people together to work on that project. But certainly over the next 3 years, I would like to see strong steps made in that, if not construction started, a definitive plan, location, those types of things, fundraising, those goals met to take it to the next step. I think we do have a void in our community when it comes to the performing arts around symphonic type performances in terms of size of venue as well as acoustical ability. Sagebrush does a great job, but it's not built for symphonic type shows. As well, it's a little undersized for some of the other shows coming in, so I'm not just viewing this as a centre that would be strictly for classical music, but certainly there's a lot of concerts that drive through town right now of all sorts of types of music that would benefit from a 1,000 to 1,200 seat venue properly laid out for them. And once again, I think we've heard time and again within the arts community about their importance to the economic well-being of a city, and certainly another venue like this to help augment Sagebrush, not replace it. I want to be very clear on that. Would only strengthen the arts and the economy in Kamloops moving forward. So those would be two of the bigger ticket items that I'd be looking at, but certainly pursuing other passive recreation opportunities in the community to try to build on that community wellness that we're seeing right now. Certainly the Tournament Capital Centre's shown great success with IHA's programs as well up there for the vascular program and things like that with the indoor track. But I think we can do more within outdoor recreation, so it's not just about the organized sport events, but also how do we get people engaged and active and doing things maybe on their own, and just showing up with friends on the weekend, which doesn't just benefit your health physically, but also your mental well-being and things like that in the community. What else do I have here? Jeez. On the tourism side of things, definitely we do need to get more aggressive on trying to develop, and we've had some attempts in the past for annual Made in Kamloops events that reoccur every year, and in terms of larger size festival, be it within the arts or even within multi-sport. We need to do something to try to pick up some of those shoulder seasons within tourism. I think we've been doing an excellent job with the Tournament Capital project in terms of attracting people here, but working on some of those off-season marquee events that will draw people here, particularly on the cultural side of things. Again, I think we're we're lacking on some of that festival type feel within the city, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there when you figure where we are geographically based in that location. And other than that, I guess I'll just kind of cut it there.
I want to ask you about the IHA master plan and the site plan. Would you like to see some type of a specialty for Kamloops? I know that Kelowna obviously has a cardiac specialty. We talked about perhaps neurosurgery or perhaps pediatrics. What would you like to see?
Well, certainly I think trauma first and foremost is what we already do very well, and we do it at a high volume. So with that comes all sorts of other subspecialties and operating space and things like that. So obviously you want to build on your strengths, and we're still trying to work with IHA and the medical staff and the province to figure out what other needs do they have on a provincial need or a regional IHA need that needs to be filled. And this isn't about trying to replicate what Kelowna has. It's meant to strengthen the whole IHA system as a whole, and work collaboratively, not trying to just recreate the Kelowna General Hospital in Kamloops, but make it our own kind of specialty space. There has been talk around the pediatric side of things and those types of things. So, I'm quite frankly, whatever healthcare comes, other specialists come with it, and other operating dollars come with it, other staff, lab people, everything like that. So I'm not too picky about that. I think that we need to make sure that we have a very robust hospital that can handle large numbers of people, but also have a lot of different specialties in it.
So Peter, so just on that, in terms of timelines, is 3 years going to be enough to get anything rolling on that? The HST and the previous comments before, and Ontario Health now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first step is to get it to show up somewhere in a provincial capital plan, and that starts giving you some timelines to work with then, and so that's really the first step in the goal. And I think it's like most projects we've seen happen, you have to have a little bit of patience. Slopage is a good example of that. We've had some patience over the years and got it going. So I view the hospital as no different. Kelowna, we've heard for years about their expansion, but their expansion is barely open. So it takes a long time for these projects from the time they're announced to the time they're actually built and in operation. And so, I think if we could even get that funding commitment over the next 3 years and start seeing some actual true design work being done and potentially even some ground being broken, I think that would be a win for the city. But I'm really focusing on that first, get it into the capital plan on a provincial scale.
Performing Arts Centre, how much would something like that cost?
Well, the numbers are going to be anywhere, I would hazard to guess anywhere from 30 to 40 million and north. Certainly Prince George is looking at one, and they keep talking about $40 to $50 million. I know when we put together the cultural strategic plan about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it was going to be in the $40 million range was always talked about. So that's where I think we need to get that community group together. We need to start building the support in the community and the arts groups. And we also need to look at fundraising options, be ready to go if there are infrastructure type funds out there from senior levels of government, but also try to time it if we need to when we have other debt coming off the books from other large projects. And that's key to the whole fiscal responsibility piece, is making sure that we're trying to time some of these larger projects so they're not all on our books at one time.
Do you think the support is there? Do you think the support is there, Peter, for something like that?
I think the support is there. I think if we had started this conversation 6 or 7 years ago at this stage, I don't think the support would have been. But we're that much further down the road with the borrowings for, say, tournament capital, for the water treatment plant, those types of things. And I think the community is starting to realize that as we grow, we do need another venue. And certainly, if it's designed right, if there's the right support around it and the right business model is there in terms of usage and there's enough multi-use to it, I think there's totally
What about Patchen Parkade? Bringing up the P word. I mean, really, if you're looking at locating it downtown, it seems like that would be...
Well, I never said I was locating downtown.
Yeah.
Did you hear me say that?
Would it be something... you say that. Would it be something to town cities?
I'm sorry, can I say that again? Test.
No, I mean, the first step would be to figure out a location, obviously. There's two obvious choices out there, somewhere in the core of the North Shore, there's somewhere in the core of downtown that seem to be the preferred two options, and we need to deal with that. But whether or not there's a parkade, obviously if you're trying to attract 1,000 people or 1,200 people to a venue, you need some parking for it as well. So whether that's part of the parkade or in addition to the parkade is yet to be seen. I think the key is we need to find the location, the costs, and start working on that.
Why did you pick this location today? Anything significant about it? Or?
Well, I think this speaks. I was kind of reviewing the last while, and as an elected official, and certainly, I'm proud of Tournament Capital. I'm proud of the work that I did in social planning, those types of things, Arts Commission and whatnot. But certainly, I think as a symbol of working together and what can happen when you do work with other levels of government and other agencies out there and are willing to look for creative solutions. This library says that all. The regional district could have very easily just built a 20,000 square foot concrete box, and we could have been done with it. Instead, they were willing to take the time to try to redevelop a neighborhood at the same time, and that's exactly what's happened on the North Shore. In addition to that, by selling off the airspace, we saved the taxpayers about $1.5 million in the construction of the library. So, we've seen a lot of community good out of a project like this. It partnered in with the permissive tax exemption strategy that City Council passed to try to see redevelopment on the North Shore. And I think this and the hotel and the transit exchange have really started to form a hub of redevelopment on the North Shore. And just behind us, we have 4 towers that are proposed in the future. And I think there's a lot of potential still to be seen, but it's really more around that demonstrating what can happen when you really do, with sincerity, try to work with other levels of government and other funding partners. And I think I've demonstrated over 9 years that I have an ability to do that quite well.
Peter, how much of a hindrance has it been in the divisiveness of council in the last few years? I mean, there's always going to be some diversity when you look at the range of candidates. There at least many bases of different.
It's not, when I say that, I don't mean that's because votes aren't always unanimous. Certainly, I don't expect votes to be unanimous. I don't always agree with what the majority of council is, the direction they want to take, and that's totally fine. I think what we started to see, though, and what we're hearing in the early stages of this campaign is that some people seem to feel that this is almost like provincial or federal politics, and that they're trying to be elected to be the official opposition party. So if myself or other people say black, they must say white. And, I think it's really unfortunate when that starts to creep into civic politics. We generally don't operate that way. We're trying to operate for the betterment of all people, regardless of political stripe. And, you keep hearing about this acrimony within politics, and we don't normally see that in civic politics. And unfortunately, what we're starting to see in civic politics is instead of the politicians taking shots at each other, as they may do in Ottawa or Victoria in the House, we're seeing some pretty over-the-top statements being made on blogs and things like that. So it's almost the reverse, where it's the public attacking the politicians and not having that decorum and respect in the conversation, as opposed to the other way around. But certainly that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just agreeing for the sake of agreeing. I'm talking about making sure that we're not operating as if we're a mini legislature and we have official opposition for the sake of being in opposition.
Yeah, let's see some cover.
All-Star game in January, possibly.
Well, I have started skating again, Cam, so you better be careful.
You promised me you didn't train for this thing, and now here you are. You're going to get the hat trick and make me
I
look
saw him
worse.
running with a Lululemon headband the other day on the North Shore, actually. It was just sweating up the
The
storm.
13-year-old rec goalies are shutting me down a lot more than you ever did, that's for sure.
Ouch. Peter, what's the biggest challenge that you have in this election? It's usually easier for the incumbent, but what's going to be what do you see as your biggest challenge?
I don't know. I think they're always a challenge. I certainly am not looking at this as if it's a foregone conclusion. I think you need to campaign properly. Certainly the timelines are a little tighter, where it was looking like there wasn't going to be anyone running, and with only 3 hours to go, suddenly there was 4. So, there was a bit of work being done this weekend in terms of, say, signage and things like that we didn't want to, order or spend money on if there wasn't going to be a race. But, I think over the next month you'll see that my campaign is going to be fairly traditional in terms of what you would expect, and things will get rolled out. And I guess the challenge really is what I'm hearing more from the media is how are they going to manage, a slate of 30 people, let alone 12 school trustees, and have forums and things like that, and how's that all going to work out and play out. I'm game for anything. I think you all know I love standing up in front of a crowd and answering questions that I have no clue what's coming at me, and standing there and answering and giving my opinion on something. So I hope there's some of those opportunities, because that's what I really enjoy. And quite frankly, I think the public needs to factor some of that in. We're trying to elect 9 people that we want to be the face of our city for the next 3 years, and we want them to be representing us so that we can be proud when they're talking to other cities, other levels of government, or international people as well, and they will be the face of the city.
Any concerns that special interest groups were taking up a lot of time at council in the last couple of years with their concerns? Do they take up more of your time now, you think?
Well, we've certainly seen more public inquiries during this term than we had in previous terms, and I don't know if that's tied back into that whole want to be official opposition or what. I'm not sure, but certainly we have public inquiries for a reason, and that is for the people to come, and I don't have a big issue with it. I sometimes do get frustrated when we're covering the same ground over and over again, or the person has already been emailed 2 or 3 times beforehand on the exact same topic, and they're expecting a different answer or something. I'm not sure what in front of the camera, but that's all part of the process, and I'm fine with that. It's nothing but time. If a council meeting takes 3.5 hours instead of 3 hours, that's really not a big deal in my mind.
Well, it's maybe an indicator too. I mean, with all the social media and everything else, that people are maybe watching closer than they ever have in the past.
Yeah, I think the streaming videos really helped. Certainly, we're seeing more people. They liked watching it on Shaw, and I think they still do. But the ease to get on it with your computer, I think even people in their work days are clicking on, at their workstations to be able to watch little clips here and there. So, it's all good, really. Yeah.
Thanks, Pete. Can you do a quick go on the traffic?
Yep.
For us? Okay.